67 years ago. A time when radio moved the airwaves, a time when radio entertained people. So, we invite you now to buckle your seatbelts for a trip back to yesteryear. And here to guide us on our trip are your WREP players, Patrick Bean, engineer is Ruben Castile. Now, two of the episodes that we are presenting today were first broadcast 67 years ago, in 1948. Now, we know that you're all too young to remember 1948. So our cast will remind you just how things were 67 years ago.
In 1948, the White House was occupied by Harry S. True. Give him hell, Harry.
In 1948, movie theaters were showing Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
In 1948, tickets to that movie cost 60 cents.
In 1948, a new house cost $7,700.
In 1948, tuition at Harvard was $525 a year.
In 1948, you could buy a new car for $1,200.
In 1948, a postage stamp cost 3 cents.
In 1948, a gallon of gasoline was 16 cents.
And in 1948, radio entertained people. Ladies and gentlemen, for your listening pleasure, WREP is on the air. The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, starring America's favorite young couple, Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Hilliard. Say, there's some excitement in the air. A mysterious change has taken place in the vicinity of 1847 Rogers Road. Remember the friendly old elm tree in front of the house? Well, it doesn't look friendly anymore. With a full moon shining through it, and on one of the bare branches is a big black owl. And the old dependable weather vane on top of the garage? Gee, it looks different now. I'm not sure if it's a weather vane or not, the way the shadows fall. Could it be a witch on a broomstick? Oh, it's spooky out tonight. In the Nelson kitchen, there's an atmosphere of feverish activity and exciting preparations.
What are you looking for, David?
I'm trying to find some paper bags, big ones.
Well, look in the bottom drawer there.
There, that's a good one, Ricky.
Yeah, but what will I do with the potatoes?
No, not that drawer, Ricky, on the other side.
Say, what's going on out here?
Where we get some other paper bags?
Sounds like you were taking the kitchen apart.
Halloween! We're gonna have fun tonight, Pops!
Well, it looks plenty spooky out there to me.
What do you have there, dear?
Oh, I was just rummaging around upstairs a bit, and I thought the boys might make a costume out of these old work pants.
Gee, Pop, they're pretty dirty.
Well, not only that, dear, they're covered in paint.
Well, what do you expect, Harriet? I wore them when I painted the breakfast nook.
Well, I think you did a better job on the pants than you did on the breakfast nook.
How about you, Ricky? Would you like to be a painter? We'll get you a white cap and stick a couple of brushes in your belt.
Sorry, Pop. Those pants look awfully big.
Well, let's see how they look on you. Here, step into them. Put your foot in there. That's it. Now the other foot. Now pull them up.
Well, that's a wonderful costume. The headless painter.
Anyway, Pop, we don't need costumes. We got bags. That's enough.
Well, suit yourself. We used to wear costumes when I was a kid.
That's just for little kids, Pop. Me and David are going trick or treat.
Trick or treat?
Sure. We ring a guy's doorbell and say trick or treat. And if he doesn't give us cookies or something, we let him have it.
Well, there you are, dear. That's Halloween, 1948.
Sounds more like Chicago, 1925.
It's a lot of fun, Pop. Did you used to do that when you were a kid?
No, David. As I remember, we used to go in more for the real spirit of Halloween. You know, the spooky, scary stuff.
Well, what do you mean, Pop?
I mean, we'd find some old haunted house and go prowling around looking for ghosts and stuff.
You sure were brave, Pop.
Not necessarily.
Pop, did you ever see a ghost?
I won't say I saw a ghost, but I will say I saw something.
A spook?
I don't know. It was white and shimmering, indistinct. It wavered back and forth. Sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't there. White and shimmering.
Did they have television sets then, Pop?
No, Ricky, this was right out in the center of the living room. I'm afraid Halloween's different nowadays. The wonderful old, spooky, hobgoblin atmosphere, that's all changed now. You can't help feeling a little sad when you see the joys of your childhood disappearing in a changing world. Halloween just isn't exciting anymore.
Are you gonna cry, Pop?
No, just the memories coming back.
You sure must have had fun, Pop. Do you really think there's such a thing as a ghost? A real ghost, I mean?
Well, I don't know. A spooky old house with the moon shining through the broken shutters. I imagine you'd see some pretty strange things.
I'd sure like to see a ghost. Boy, would I run.
Well, there's the old McAdams place up on the hill. That's a pretty spooky looking place. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there were a ghost or two lurking around in there.
Do you think we could see one if we went up there, Pop?
It's very possible.
Oh, Ozzie, your father's just kidding, David.
Oh, let the boys have a little fun, Harriet. After all, it's Halloween.
Come on, grab the bags, Ricky. We gotta get going.
Hey, wait for me!
Don't you think a lot of the spirit of Halloween has been lost?
Oh, I don't know, dear. The kids seem to have a good time. That's the important thing.
Oh, they pretend to enjoy it. But where's the fun? Trick or treat. Where's the adventure? Where's the danger in getting a handful of cookies from Mrs. Dunkel?
You've never eaten Mrs. Dunkel's cookies.
Have we had any callers yet?
Oh, about a dozen of them. You should have seen little Julie Thornberry. She was all dressed up in one of Catherine's old dresses, and she had a stocking on her head.
Really? I'm sorry I missed it.
And little Georgie Dunkel, he had the cutest clown suit with skeletons sewn on it.
We sure have some cute little kids in the neighborhood.
I'll get it.
Now wait a minute, let me get it. I want to have some fun too. Yes?
Trick or treat.
Wait a minute, aren't you a little big to be playing trick or treat?
Trick or treat.
How old are you?
53.
Whoever heard of a grown man playing trick or treat?
Well, my little boy's over on the next block. I'm just helping him out.
You don't even have a costume.
What do you think I am, a child? Come on, trick or treat.
A little unusual, I'd say. What happens if I don't give you a treat?
Well, I sneak back later and ring your doorbell.
So what?
And when you answer it, I punch you in the nose. Come on, trick or treat.
Really funny. Here's some cookies.
Only 3?
Well, they've got to go around. There are other children, too, you know.
Okay. Oh, I hated chocolate. My kid likes chocolate cookies. Thanks.
Well, that's all right. How old is your little boy?
25.
Who's that?
It was one of the kids in the neighborhood. One of the older kids.
Would you do me a favor if you're not too busy?
What is it?
Could you run down to the store and get some candies or something? At the rate we're going to run out of stuff.
Okay. Hey, what are you doing?
Just putting a couple cookies in your pocket in case you get stopped for trick or treat. Some of the boys get pretty rough.
Oh, Harriet, please. You don't think I'm afraid of a bunch of kids?
Well, suit yourself. Last Halloween, Joe Randolph bumped into the backfield of the high school football team and came home minus his trousers.
No kidding. I understand they have a pretty good team this year.
I want you to take these 4 cookies, just in case.
You better give me 2 more. The ends might be with them.
Gotcha!
Oh, Lego! Oh, don't tear my pants off. The cookies are in my pocket. Wonderful cookies. Very nice cookies.
What's this about cookie?
Oh, it's you, Thorn. Now, what a corny trick. Hiding behind the hedge.
Oh, just keeping in the spirit of Halloween. You should have seen what I did to Dunkel a little while ago.
Did you scare him? What did you do?
I sneaked up on his front porch, rang the doorbell, and ran like the Dickens. He didn't know what to do. Then he went back into his house, and I snuck around the back and started rattling the back door. Boy, was he scared.
What else did you do?
Well, I waited a few minutes, and then I tapped on the window and moaned like this. Oh, and I rattled the door some more, and I moaned some more, and I began pounding on the side of his house.
And then what?
Then the police came. That devil just has no sense of humor.
Did the police do anything to you?
No, they just told me to stop annoying people. They took away my soap, too.
You're just a big kid at heart, aren't you, Thorny?
It's all in fun. What's Halloween nowadays? Nothing happens. My boy's Will is out playing trick or treat.
David and Ricky, too. Somehow Halloween sort of lost the old kick.
Yeah, it sure isn't like it was when we were kids.
There was an old haunted house in our town, and every Halloween, us kids used to go proudly through it. Really spooky.
Sure, that's the real spirit of Halloween.
You take that old McAdams place up on Franklin Avenue. There's a perfect haunted house. If there was some way to sneak in there.
You go in there at night?
Why, sure, why not?
Well, no reason. I just never cared for the looks of that place myself. All those grotesque chimneys and staring windows, it sort of gives me the creeps.
No, Thorny, you're kidding.
No, I'm not, Oz. I mean, there's something frightening about it, especially at night.
What an imagination. Well, I've got to get down to the drugstore. I promised I'd get Harriet some candy.
Okay, I'll see you later.
See you.
Oh, and when you go by the McAdams place, don't let the ghost get you.
Well, that's right. I go right by there, don't I?
Yes, sir. Not afraid, are you, Oz?
Thorny, cut it out. If you walk down to the store with me, I'll buy you a soda.
Hey, Mom and Pop, we went to the McAdams place and we saw a ghost.
A real ghost!
A real ghost. A real ugly one with sharp teeth and a long nose and pointed ears and hair all over his face.
At first, we thought it was Pop.
That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said about me.
I mean, we thought it was you trying to scare us.
Oh, boys, don't be silly.
You guys probably saw the moon shining through the window and your imagination did the rest.
Okay, go and see for yourself.
Yeah, why don't you, Pop?
Yeah, why don't you, Pop?
Well, I'd be glad to, except I promised to take your mother to the movies.
Since when?
Well, that is, I've been thinking about it all day. There's a wonderful triple Halloween show at the Bijou. The Son of Frankenstein, Dracula's Daughter, and A Date with Judy.
Well, I wasn't counting on the movies, dear. In fact, I'd much rather you go up and give us a report on the ghost.
Oh dear, it's so silly.
Go ahead, Pop. Have some fun.
Go ahead, dear.
Well, okay, if it makes you happy, I'll go up and visit the haunted house.
Attaboy, Dad.
Go get him.
Hooray for Daddy.
I thought for a minute you were getting scared, Pop.
Oh, David.
Just remember this, boys. There's not a cowardly bone in your father's body. Of course, every now and then the meat around him gets a little jumpy.
The meat around him. What am I laughing at?
Warning to all ghosts, beware. Ozzie Nelson will get you if you don't watch out. Yes, indeed, Ozzie Nelson, archenemy of all ghosts, goblins, spirits, and similar supernatural phenomena, is on the march. His target for tonight, the ghost that walks in the old Nick Adams house. See the courageous Ozzie as he strides firmly across the porch at 1847 Rogers Road, chin up, flashlight swinging at his side, down the steps, down the walk, and now he stops. Every muscle tense, eyes alert, nose twitchy. A white, filmy object moves out of the darkness.
Who's that?
It's me, Mr. Nelson.
Oh, hello, Emmylou.
I came over to show you my Halloween costume. I'm going to a party. Where are you going, Mr. Nelson?
Oh, I'm on an errand for the boys. They went up to the old McAdams house tonight and they think they saw a ghost.
Really, Mr. Nelson?
Yeah, and, I'm going up there to prove to them it was just their imaginations.
You're going into the spooky old house tonight all alone?
Of course.
Evidently, you haven't heard the story about the McAdams place.
I've heard some silly rumor it's supposed to be haunted or something.
But it is, Mr. Nelson. I heard the whole story from the people who live next door. The story goes that years ago in Scotland, in an old haggard castle, the young and beautiful Lady Jane McAdams had a quarrel with her lover, Douglas McDingle McCampbell McTaggart, a Scotchman.
Yes, of course.
Well, anyway, Lady Jane pushed her lover, Douglas McDingle McCampbell McTavish, down the stairs. Down, down, down he went, his head banging on each step. Thump, thump, crunch, crunch. As the bagpipes were mournfully playing, the Campbells are coming. As he lay at the bottom of the staircase dying, Douglas McDingle McCampbell McTavish, or as they like to call him, Mac. As he lay there on the bottom of the staircase, he took an oath.
I'd swear a little myself.
He took an oath that he would follow Lady Jane wherever she went. His spirit would always haunt her.
Where did she go?
She came here to the United States and built the McAdams place. And they say, on nights when there's a full moon like tonight, the giant ghost of Mac McTavish returns. And while the eerie notes of the bagpipes ring in the night air, he prowls the house in search of Lady Jane.
It makes a good story, but no one in his right mind would believe it.
Well, you believe it, don't you, Mr. Nelson?
Well, yes, but I'm not, it's just a lot of nonsense.
Okay, Mr. Nelson. Remember, if you go up there and see the ghost and get a terrible fright and drop dead, don't come around saying I didn't warn you. Happy Halloween!
Harriet! Oh, Harriet!
Oh, hello, dear. You back so soon?
No, I haven't gone yet. As a matter of fact, I've been thinking this whole thing over, and I don't think I'll go. This whole idea sounds sort of childish.
Oh, what about the boys, dear? You promised them.
I know, but isn't it silly for a full-grown man? It's only a wild goose chase. I mean, that's all it is.
Well, if you'd like, dear, I'll go with you.
And the boys, what did you say?
I said I'll go with you.
There are times, Harriet, when a man likes to be alone.
Well, all right, dear.
Get your coat. This isn't one of those times. Don't get nervous. Now, dear, just keep cool.
Well, I'm cool, all right. Matter of fact, I'm shivering a little.
Just hold my hand good and tight.
I can't. You're squeezing mine so hard, my fingers are slipping.
Sorry. Better?
There. How do we get through this iron fence?
There's a gate here someplace. Probably be bolted and spoil all our fun. Usually have a huge lock, big chains. Here we are. Oh,
Locked.
no.
Push it open.
Would you take the flashlight for a second? Thanks. And the baseball bat, too.
Oh, doesn't that place look weird?
Yes, it is pretty spooky, in fact. Shall I sing something to keep your nerve up?
If you want to, dear.
It'll keep you from getting scared. Did you ever think as the hearse goes by, someday you're going to die? There's a spook in the meadow.
Shh. You'll frighten the ghosts. Must be a haunted house. The door squeaks.
I don't know why you insisted on coming along. I could have done this just as easily myself.
Ozzie, something has a hold of my coat.
Yeah, that's me. Wait, who closed the door?
Didn't you?
No.
Must have been the wind. Gee, this place sure looks creepy with the moon streaming through the windows. What was that?
Now, don't be frightened. I'm right beside you.
Ozzie, there's something in the street. It's coming toward us.
It's getting closer. Harriet, quick, my baseball bat!
Now, hey, Oz, be careful with that thing. Hello, Harriet. Hi, Oz.
You old trickster, Thorny.
Oh, just having a little fun with all the talk that's been going around about this place.
So you're the ghost David and Ricky saw. I should have guessed by the description. You should have a bagpipe, though, Thorny.
Bagpipe?
Why, sure. Haven't you heard? This place is supposed to be haunted by a Scotch ghost who plays the bagpipe. And each night he comes down the stairs. Well, you do have one, Thorny. Where is it? Boy, you sure play awful.
Worse than you think. I don't play at all.
But I can hear a bagpipe. Listen, I can hear it plain as day.
Ozzie, up there, at the top of the stairs.
The ghost! The ghost of Lord McTavish! Well, we've seen it. Let's go.
Well, let's just keep calm about it. Now keep quiet. Ouch, Ozzie. The door won't open. But keep turning the handle and it won't open.
Stop it, Thorny. You've got hold of my nose.
This way, boys. Thorny, the door's over here.
If you follow me, I'll go through and I'll make it out on my own.
More coffee here?
No, thanks. I can't understand it. There must be some scientific explanation. Did I seem very scared out there?
No, not especially.
I mean, did I act in any way that might give anyone the impression that this, illusion that we saw frightened me?
No, you were very level-headed about it. Of course, it was the first time I've ever seen you jump a 7-foot fence.
I didn't think I could fool you. That thing, whatever it was, scared the daylights out of me.
I was plenty scared myself. I can't figure out those bagpipes.
What about the ghost?
Yes, of course, the ghost, too.
Harriet, what are you stuffing behind the sofa pillow?
Oh, nothing, dear, just some old papers and things.
Oh, wait a minute, let me see that.
It's only an old sheet.
So get the couch dirty, it's got cobwebs. Cobwebs!
How about a little more coffee?
And there's Ricky's baseball bat, the one I left. Harriet, if you'd like to make a little confession, I'll listen. But if you'd rather not, I'd rather you would.
All right, dear. It's just that the boys and I thought it would be nice if you could have a little fun on Halloween. You told them how much you enjoyed going to some haunted house, so we thought if we could sort of... Ozzie, listen.
I'm listening, go on.
The bagpipes.
Yeah,
I hear the bagpipes again.
so do I.
Hey, Pop, can we have a dime?
Boys, do you hear those bagpipes playing?
Sure, that's who we want the dime for. He's out front now.
Who's out front now?
Mr. Campbell, the man with the Scotch Plaid ice cream truck.
Sure, haven't you ever seen him? Can we have a dime, Pop?
Dime? Here's 50 cents, stuff yourselves.
Thanks, Pop.
Oh, boy.
How about that? The bagpipes we heard in the McAdams place were from the Scotch Plaid ice cream truck.
What a coincidence.
How remarkable. You see, the Scotch Plaid ice cream truck happened to stop there. There are no other houses around, and nobody lives there, but he happened to stop there. Played a different tune up there, too, didn't he?
I don't remember.
Harriet, believe me, it was only the Scotch Plaid ice cream truck.
Yes, I know, dear.
I'll say it just once more. The bagpipes we heard in the McAdams place were from the Scotch Plaid ice cream truck.
Okay, dear, you've convinced me.
I wish I could convince myself. I'd like to get some sleep tonight.
Oh, come on, dear, put out the light. Let's go to sleep.
In a few minutes, Harriet. I just want to finish this article. Debunking the spook.
Debunking the spook?
Yeah, the man who wrote it spent a night in the house that was supposed to be haunted. As I sat there in the darkness, I could hear the clock in the village striking 12. Now is the witching hour. If ever the dead live, now's the time that they must rise from the grave. I stood up and dared the ghost to appear. I said, if you are a ghost, I dare you to strike me dead. Silly article.
What happened next?
Well, then, let's see. He goes on to...
Yes?
The article ends right there.
Oh, come on, dear. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep.
You know what might be fun? Let's sleep with the lights on tonight. The Campbells are coming. Well, it's Lord McTavish now.
Ozzie! Ozzie! Wake up!
This is the ghost.
noise really scared us.
It frightened me too.
Okay, now we're even.
Suspense. Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations bring you radio's outstanding theater of thrills in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, fun, riding a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells.
Herbert!
Yes, my dear.
What on earth are you doing down here in the cellar?
Why, just doing a little digging.
And why, may I ask, have you chosen this day of all days to dig up the cellar floor?
Well, I thought as the weather has been so damp, this would be a good time to plant that little devil's garden I told you about.
Devil's garden? Whatever nonsense is that?
Oh, that was my little joke about it. You see, I've managed to get hold of the spores of several unclassified wild orchids. In their wild state, they bloom under damp masses of leaf mold. The Araucanian Indians call them devil flowers because they appear to bloom under the ground.
Well, I'm sure the Araucanian Indians will be very interested if you succeed in growing these ridiculous flowers under the cellar floor. Whom else it will interest, I can't imagine. What is that terrible smell?
Oh, that's the leaf mold, chemically identical with the earth blanket they grow under in the wild state. I suppose I should line the pit with concrete so as to prevent seepage from this foreign soil, but I don't suppose there will be much time for it now, and I do want to get these started before we close the house.
There certainly will not be time for it. Do you realize that we're sailing for America a week from today, and you've made no arrangements whatever? Unless you call digging a hole in the cellar making arrangements. I certainly don't. Devil's garden, indeed. Sometimes I think you're going soft in the head, Herbert.
Yeah, I suppose it's inconsiderate of me, and you see, I've been wanting to try this experiment for a long time. But what with my lectures and seminars at the university, there never seemed to be time.
Well, there certainly isn't any time for it now. I suppose you've forgotten I made an appointment for you at the barber's this afternoon.
Must I shave off my beard, Hermione?
I thought we'd been all through that. Of course you must. They don't wear beards in America. Go get your jacket on and do as I tell you.
Yes, Hermione.
And don't forget to take your umbrella. It looks like rain.
Yes, Hermione.
Don't look so put upon, Herbert. Someone has to plan things in this house, so you'd never even get to the university in time for your lectures, much less make arrangements for a trip to America.
I know, but what about my specimen?
There'll be plenty of time to plant your precious devil's garden when we get home from America. We're not going to be gone forever, you know. We'll be back here for Christmas.
Yes, of course. Back for Christmas, I'd forgotten.
We'll try to remember it. And if you can't do that, just do as I tell you. I've been making the plans in this house for 20 years, and if there's any digging to be done, I'll manage that as well. You understand, Herbert?
Yes, Hermione.
Good. You have just 20 minutes to clean up this mess down here and keep your appointment at the barber's. When you finish there, I want you to come straight home.
I wanted to stop at Miss Markham's and pick up some books I ordered.
Well, all right. But don't loiter there the whole afternoon, browsing over those old books the way you usually do. Now, hurry and clear up this rubbish. Get rid of that smelly stuff. And no more digging, mind you.
Yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. How many years has it been since I've been saying that? 10 years? 15? 20? Clear up the rubbish. Yes, Hermione. Don't forget your umbrella. Yes, Hermione. Do this, do that. Yes, Hermione. Yes, yes. How much longer can I stand this?
Good evening, sir.
Oh, good evening, Miss Markham.
Why, it's Professor Carpenter, isn't it?
Yes, you like me better this way?
You look ever so much younger without the beard. 20 years at least.
20 years.
You'll be glad to know the books you ordered to find arrived.
Books?
Phlebotomy of phalloid gamophytes and carnivorous shrubs of North America. Those are the ones you ordered, aren't they?
Oh, yes, thank you. You're very kind, Miss Markham.
Why kind, Professor?
Well, not many young ladies in bookshops would go out of their way to look up rare books for an old professor of botany.
Why, you're not old, Professor Carpenter. Really, you look... And besides, I adore botany. It's my particular hobby.
Oh, really? You never told me that before, Miss Markham.
I was afraid to. You were so imposing with the beard and all.
You might be interested in some specimens of alpine polyanthes that were just sent to me by a friend in Switzerland.
Switzerland? I used to go there always for my holidays before the war.
You love Switzerland?
Every part of it. The lakes, the mountains, the beautiful spring flowers. Especially the flowers.
Well, it seems we have quite a lot in common, Miss Markham. I'm sorry we haven't talked before.
I am too. It's all the fault of the beard, it seems.
Miss Markham, forgive me if this sounds foolish, but I feel that shaving off my beard is the most important thing I've done for 20 years.
Oh, it is. I'm sure it is. I'm ashamed that I've been so distant with you all this time. Oh, there were times when I almost spoke up. Times when you came in here tired after your day with the students at the university. You seemed so alone, the way I'm alone in the world. I begged to have asked you to stay a while and talk to me. But some way or another, I always wound up giving you your change and letting you go on your way.
You say you're all alone in the world?
Since my father died.
Did you never think of marrying?
My father was a very remarkable man. I never found anyone who seemed to measure up to what he led me to expect of men. Then the war came.
Miss Markham.
It's been so long since anyone's called me by my first name. I'd like you to, if you want to. It's Marion.
Married?
And yours?
Herbert.
How long have you been alone, Herbert?
Alone?
I knew you were a widower, of course, the first time I saw you.
Widow.
I can always tell. There's a certain sadness in a man's eye. A sweet sadness, I think, for he's been married and then...
A widow. I never thought of it quite that way.
Perhaps I shouldn't be talking like this, but I've often wondered what she must have been like. Your wife, I mean.
Hermione? Not an easy woman to forget. Very strong. Always managing things. The house, my wardrobe, my friends. When we dined at a restaurant, she even ordered my food. She was always managing things. You might say she managed herself to death.
Poor woman, she must have loved you very much. But she needn't put herself out. It's plain to see you don't need things managed for you. You need companionship. I think someone sympathetic with your work. But the last thing on earth you need is a manager.
How well you put it. The last thing on earth. That's the first time I thought of it, of course. And suddenly a whole new world opened up before my eyes. Marriage, America, and no more of Hermione's planning my life for me. By the time I got home, my mind was working overtime.
Well, at last. You certainly took long enough about it. What are you looking so pleased about?
I don't know. Getting rid of the beard, perhaps. I feel 20 years younger.
You look even smaller. Your face looks triangular or something. I'd forgotten your chin was so weak. But never mind. You can grow it back soon enough, after Christmas. Where are you going?
Well, down in the cellar. I just bought this electric lantern, and I thought I'd put it away down there.
Now, whatever possessed you to buy a thing like that?
I don't know. I rather like this lantern. It might come in handy, who knows?
Now, Herbert, don't start digging down there again. I've 100 things to do. Putting the house in order before we leave. I want you to carry these boxes upstairs for me.
Yes, Hermione.
And if you're going down to the cellar, take this along and stuff it into the furnace.
But this is my old bathrobe. I may need it.
Nonsense. I bought you a new one. Get rid of it. And don't start puttering down there with that devil's garden or whatever you call it.
No, I'm all through digging, my dear. I think the pit is quite deep enough now. Not for my devil's god. It would all have to be carefully planned, of course. Just as carefully planned as Hermione was planning the trip to America. We both went about our arrangements as the days passed. I spent all the time I could with Marion. And finally, she consented. And then it was the last day, the big day. The day we were to sail for America.
Operator! Operator, are you there? I'm still waiting on my call to Salisbury. Oh? Well, put them on quickly. Hello. Is this Paul Holton's sons? It's Mrs. Herbert Carpenter. Did you receive my letter? Good. Now remember, we'll be back for Christmas and I want the job done without fail. What's that? No, I'm sure he doesn't suspect anything. Send the bill to me in New York as I've instructed you. Addressed in my name, of course. Yes, I've already put them in the mail. You'll get them tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, here you are, Herbert. Where have you been?
Go backstairs. I dismissed the servants.
Dismiss the servants? But I've asked some friends of mine into a farewell luncheon. Go and tell them it's a mistake.
Oh, I'm afraid it's too late now. They've packed and gone.
You have messed things up properly. How many times have I told you to leave things to me? I make the plans around here.
Yes, Hermione.
You'll have to do better than this when I plan the trip home, or we'll never in the world be back for Christmas.
Back for Christmas, back for Christmas. Must you keep saying that?
Why not? We are coming back for Christmas, aren't we?
Well, supposing I were offered a professorship in one of those wealthy American universities.
Oh, nonsense. Americans care nothing for botany.
Burbank was an American.
That's different. What have you ever done except muck around in the dirt with a lot of roots and tubers?
They asked me to lecture. That must mean something.
Of course they asked you to lecture. Americans will pay to hear any foreigner deliver a lecture. Once. Now, there's no use getting yourself in a state about this, Herbert. No doubt this extra money will come in handy when we arrive back for Christmas. Precisely. And it's no good you're making a joke of it. Heaven knows where you'd be today if I hadn't got a sense of time.
Yes, my dear Hermione.
And as you've been so foolish as to dismiss the servants, you may empty the ashtrays and straighten up this room while we're waiting for the guests to arrive. I'm going upstairs to change. Call me when they get here.
Yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. Yes, Hermione. For 20 years, Hermione, always so right. Thought of everything. Well, not quite everything. There. Running the bath now. Safe to call Marion. If Marion were to change her mind now. After all, we haven't known each other for very long for this sort of thing. If she had any idea that I was not a widower. Yet. Marion, it's Herbert, my doctor. No, nothing's wrong. My plans are the same, unless you've changed. No? We'll meet in New York and be married there. I'll explain why later. You'll have to trust me. Yes. Yes, my darling.
Herbert!
I'm sorry, I can't talk any longer. Yes, I'll meet you in New York, without fail. Until then, my darling.
Herbert, were you talking on the phone just now?
Yes, Hermione.
Well, Whoever was it?
Freddie Sinclair.
Didn't I hear you say something about meeting somebody in New York?
Why, yes. Old Freddie said he might possibly get over there before we leave. And I said, of course we'd meet him there if he did decide to go.
That seems very peculiar. But then all of your friends are peculiar.
Yes, am I.
And just look at your jacket. Have you been digging in that cellar again?
Yes, am I.
Well, there's no need for it. You can't possibly get that Devil's Garden thing finished. Go in and change your clothes before the guests arrive.
Yes, am I.
Oh, never mind. I see somebody coming up the walk now. Go and let them in.
Yes, am I.
Herbert,
Yes, my dear.
look out the window. There's Professor and Mrs. Goodenough. But who's that with them?
Why, it's...
Precisely. Freddie Sinclair. Peculiar, you should have been talking to him on the phone not 3 minutes ago, and now here he is.
Yes, isn't it? But then, as you say, Hermione, all my friends are peculiar.
Not half so peculiar as you. Digging in the cellar an hour before we leave for America. Just look at yourself. And now that I think of it...
Yes, Hermione?
never mind. Go and let them in.
You were going to ask me something, Hermione, about the hole I'm digging in the cellar.
Oh, good heavens, stop rolling your eyes about that way. One would think you were digging a grave down there instead of a storage bin.
Yes?
What's that?
I said yes, Hermione.
Oh, bother. Open the door and stop saying yes, Hermione.
I think, my dear, I've said it for the last time. Back for Christmas. Hermione was so positive we would be back for Christmas. That last afternoon, pouring tea for a few friends who had come in to say last-minute farewells, she kept reiterating it.
Now, mind you, Hermione, don't let those Americans lure your husband with one of their fat university jobs. We absolutely must have you back with us for Christmas.
We will be back, I promise you.
Oh, it's not absolutely certain, of course.
Herbert, do you mean it's not certain? Of course it's certain.
After all, Herbert, old boy, you're contracted to lecture for only 3 months.
Quite right, but then, of course, anything may happen.
Herbert adores being unpredictable. Now, what other man would decide the day, the very day, mind you, before leaving to America, to dig a great hole in the floor of the cellar?
In the cellar?
Yes, he's going to put some unclassified wild orchids down there. A devil's garden, if you please. Sounds mysterious. That's Herbert, though. It's really quite simple once you figure out what he's up to. Now, take that telephone call he put through to you a few minutes before you arrived, Freddie.
To me?
Of course. Herbert wanted to surprise me about your plan to meet us in New York next month. Wasn't that why he called? To ask you not to mention it?
Well, my dear Hermione, Herbert couldn't possibly have telephoned me within the past hour. I've been walking in the park since 3.
He didn't telephone you.
How could he? As to my going to America...
Now, come, Freddie, you may as well own up. Hermione has found me out again.
But, Herbert, old chap, I really don't...
You see what a poor liar Herbert makes. He's as red as a beetroot.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself, Professor? Stringing poor Hermione along like that? And as for you, Freddie, I'm furious you said nothing to us about going to America.
But look here, old girl, I've been trying to tell everyone here that...
Oh, stuff and nonsense. The game's gone on long enough. Besides, we must start getting ready. It was marvelous of all of you to come in to say goodbye. Don't worry about Herbert's little jokes. I will bring him back for Christmas. You may rely on it.
They all believed her. For years, she had been promising me for dinner parties, garden parties, committees, and the promises had always been kept. This time they wouldn't be. I'd seen to that. The servants were gone for good, the farewells all said. I had timed to the minute how long it would take to fill in the hole in the cellar. My devil's garden. Upstairs in the bedroom, I undressed, folded my clothes over a chair, and put on my old bathrobe. Then I opened the door into Hermione's room. Hermione! Have you got a moment to spare?
Of course, dear, I'm just finished.
Well, then come in here for a moment. There's something rather extraordinary here.
Good heavens, Herbert. What are you lounging about in that filthy old bathroom for? I told you to put it in the furnace.
Yes, I'll do it today. I really will, I promise.
Well, high time. Now, what is it you want to show me?
We're in the bathroom here. Just look. Who in the world do you suppose dropped a gold chain down the bathtub drain?
Nobody has. Of course, nobody wears such a thing.
Then what's it doing there?
I don't see anything.
Here, I'll hold this flashlight for you. If you lean right over, you can see it shining deep down.
Such a lot of nonsense, just as when... I don't see it, Herbert.
Go on looking, Hermione, in just a moment.
Herbert, I absolutely refuse to... Herbert, what are you doing? Take your hands off my neck!
I will, Hermione, just as soon as I finish the arrangements for my trip to America.
What are you talking about?
You thought you were the only one who could plan things, didn't you, Hermione? Well, I've been making some plans of my own this past week. In exactly 1 minute and 45 seconds, you'll be dead, Hermione. You see, I planned it very accurately.
You'll never get away with it.
I thought you'd say that, Hermione, but I will get away with it. You won't mind the smell of the leaf mold down in the cellar when I take you down there today. Yes, that's where you're going, Hermione. Into my devil's garden that annoyed you so much. The soil is full of clay. It won't settle much. In a month or so, it won't even look dug up.
My friends, they all expect me back for Christmas. If they don't hear from me, they'll wonder. And if I don't come back, they'll start asking questions.
No, they won't, because you'll write them letters, Hermione, on the typewriter, as you always do. They'll be signed H, in that neat, cryptic way you always sign your notes to your friends.
Let me up now.
No.
It won't work, Herbert. You were never any good at planning things.
Ah, but I've changed. I've learned from watching you all these years.
The lecture people in America. They'll be expecting you to be traveling with your wife.
I will be traveling with my wife, but not my present wife, Hermione. Fortunately, they've never met you. I'll write a few letters home for you, then fewer and fewer. Write letters signed with my own name, always expecting to get back, never quite able to. Keep the house 1 year, then another, then another. They'll get used to it. I might even come back alone in a year or two and clear it up properly. Say you died in America. Nobody will ever suspect that you are lying under the floor of the cellar in this very house.
Herbert, it won't work, I tell you. That pit you dug in the cellar.
I can assure you, my dear Hermione, it will serve its purpose well.
Herbert!
Sorry, my dear. I've got to get this done on schedule. You have just 5 seconds to say your prayer.
Herbert, you must listen. The cellar, don't do it! Herbert! Herbert! Ah!
The water cut off at the main as I knew she would order. She was so thorough. So was I. A clean blow at the base of the skull. Nothing to wash off. The electric current shut off at 1 o'clock, just as she ordered. She thought of everything. So did I. My nice new electric lantern. Plenty of light to work by in the cellar. The old bathrobe she wanted me to throw away came in handy now, if there should be any chance of bloodstain. Then, in the fire with afterwards, the last evidence of my devil's garden. It was going well. Still an hour till I had to leave for the boat. The hole was almost filled. Oh no. Not now. Go away, whoever you are, go away! Did I leave the front door unlocked? If it's the Wallingfords. No, no, go away, go away! After that, it was easy. Put the finishing touches on the devil's garden. Dress fast, get out of the house before 6:30, and take the boat train to Southampton and board the ship for America. All according to plan. Hermione's plan. Oh, Stuart!
Yes, sir.
My wife is indisposed. She'll be taking her meals in our stateroom.
For the whole voyage?
Yes, yes, for the whole voyage.
I trust your wife is feeling better this morning, Professor Carpenter.
A little, not yet well enough to leave her cabin.
I'm sorry. By the way, here's a copy of the radio letter you sent for your wife last evening.
Oh, thank you. I'll just check it over. But look here.
What is it? Did the typist make a mistake?
No. No, nothing important. She can correct it later. For a moment, I had a feeling that Hermione had been leaning over my shoulder again, correcting what I had written, as she always did. I had written the radiogram to Professor Goodenough and his wife. Haven't been out of the cabin the whole beastly trip. Herbert, well, doubt will be back for Christmas, the copy read. No doubt will be back for Christmas. Exactly what Hermione would have written. Well, the rest of the voyage was uneventful, and Marion and I met in New York just as we had planned. Just as we had planned. Professor and Mrs. Carpenter, we have reservations, I believe.
Oh, yes, we've been expecting you, sir. Boy, take Professor and Mrs. Carpenter's luggage up to their suite. You know, Mrs. Carpenter, you're quite a surprise. Your letter reserving the rooms was so thorough. I was expecting an older, more forbidding sort of person, frankly, ma'am.
No, as a matter of fact, we're just married. But my letter reserving the room?
I wrote the letter, my dear, and signed it Mrs. Carpenter, just as a joke.
What a cunning old fox you are, Herbert.
Now that I think of it, I am rather.
Oh, I almost forgot. There's a letter for you, Mrs. Carpenter.
That's peculiar. I wonder who on earth.
Well, we shall find out in good time. Come along, my dear, we're keeping the boy waiting. Ah, nothing like a cold, brisk shower to put a man to rights.
Herbert, this letter.
Oh yes, the letter. Yeah, dry my hair, will you, dear?
It seems to be a bill of some sort. From a building contractor in Salisbury. Oh, bother, dry your own hair.
Thank you, my sweet. Let's see this bill or whatever it is.
It's very puzzling, Herbert. You were a widower, weren't you? I mean, Hermione is still alive.
Good heavens, no. Now let's have that. Dear Madam, this is to acknowledge your order, together with the keys to your house in Longston Place. Our men had no difficulty in finding the place where your husband had begun the excavation in the cellar. But apparently he changed his mind at the last moment and filled it in again.
What is it, Herbert?
Our men will begin digging tomorrow, and you may rest assured that it will be a professional job and will be completed in ample time for your surprise Christmas present to your husband. We are happy to be conspirators with you in this thoughtful gesture, and hope that Professor Carpenter will be pleased at the results of our work that he so quaintly calls his Devil's Garden. Very truly yours, Paul Holt and Sons, contractor.
What does it mean, Herbert?
It means that Hermione was right. I will be back for Christmas. Back for Christmas. Back for Christmas! Back for Christmas!
We're going to take a short break now, but we'll be back in 10 minutes for Act 2 and another holiday episode of Suspense. We'll be right back.